Okay, welcome everyone. This is the regular monthly meeting of the Downers Grove Grade School District 58 Board of Education, Monday, April 8th, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the Downers Grove Village Hall. Melissa, will you please call roll?
Member Joshi.
Here.
Member Harris.
Here.
Member Hughes.
Here.
Member Miller.
Here.
Member Samanti.
Here.
Member Siegel is absent today. And Member Purcell.
Here. So we'll start with the flag salute with Fairmount School and Principal Niferatos.
Good evening. I have some very, very talented and amazing individuals with us for the board meeting. I would first like to start by introducing our co-sponsors for Student Council, Ms. Kate Manson and Mr. Bob Luciano.
We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Manson and I are very fortunate to work with these 4 individuals as well as a large student body that volunteer their time on a monthly basis. These students have stepped up and shared some of their ideas, helped us organize, and really facilitate some really awesome things this year. School years start to wrap up, but they have not given up. They've continued to push forward and continue to set some high goals for Fairmount. And as it's a student council thing, we want them to take over tonight. So we're going to let them take over and share with you some of the awesome things we've accomplished and how the school year has turned out so far.
So my name is Zeffie Davis, and I'm the Student Council Vice President.
My name is Victoria Colorado, and I'm the Fairmount School Treasurer.
My name is Michael Harry, and I'm the School President.
I'm Everett Lind, and I'm the Student Council Secretary.
So one of the events we did, or fundraisers that we donated, or one of the fundraisers that we did, was Hats for Hurricane Relief, and it started at September 8th after Hurricane Florence. And students and the teachers wore hats to support hurricane relief and the people that Hurricane Florence struck. And we collected $350 for the American Red Cross, which was awesome. And one of the events we had in the year was Red Ribbon Week, and it went from October 22nd to the 26th. And the theme was Life is Your Journey, Travel Drug Free. And every day we would have an all-school pledge around the flagpole, where everybody would gather around the flagpole and the officers would lead the Pledge of Allegiance. And we collected 313 cans of food for the Downers Grove Fish Pantry, and we ended up feeding 190 families, which is amazing. And spirit days that we had in the week included Red Day, where we would wear red, and favorite place to go with the theme, where we would basically wear like a shirt to represent the place where we would want to go in our futures.
One of our school fundraisers was the pumpkin estimation. This fundraiser took place in October. The winner would carve the giant pumpkin during recess with one friend of their choice. Anyone who participated in the pumpkin estimation guessed the weight of the pumpkin, which was 147 pounds. Since Fairmount School had a 5-way tie, we had the 5 people guess on a smaller pumpkin, which weighed 7 pounds. As a school, we collected $287 for St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
One of the other fundraisers we had during December was the Giving Tree. We collected hats, gloves, and socks for people to stay warm when they couldn't. And we collected 134 items for family shelter services. Another one we did was Soup for the Super Bowl, which was a soup drive that we did the week before the Super Bowl. The students chose a team when they donated an item by placing the items they brought into a box that was labeled with the 2 teams in the Super Bowl, the Rams and the Patriots. We collected 125 cans of food for People's Resource Center in Westmont.
Our one book one school was The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, and through Edward's journey, he experienced lots of trauma. And so we partnered with Lydia Home, which is an organization in Chicago for children ages 6 through 17 who have experienced trauma throughout their life. And then to collect items, the necessities for them to live a good life, we would put a suitcase in each classroom, and in the suitcase, people would put those necessities into the suitcase to give to Lydia Home. In all, we collected 1,286 items for Lydia Home and $800 to give to Lydia Home so kids can pick out a birthday present or something else that they need every morning. And then on the top right, we have some of the student council officers and kids that volunteered their own time to help package the items and see if we can the money. And then on the bottom, we would there was one of the suitcases in the classroom. I think Zebby was going to say something.
Yeah. Or if you look at like all the suitcases and all the stuff in them, plus all the money that we raised, that's just awesome. And there are like tons of suitcases laid out there, and if you probably don't use very much items in your everyday life to begin with, and if you just think of all those things, and it's just amazing how we raised that much things and how we supported so much people.
And then this picture is some of our spirit days. One was Superhero Day. I think that related to Red Ribbon Week. We had a pajama day, and then classroom day where a classroom would pick out one thing that school appropriate that they could do in their classroom. The one that was showed is Senior Citizen Day. And then we have student council meetings with every kid and the officers, and then some representatives from each classroom in our library, where we planned all of our fundraisers and spirits. Yes.
Like Mr. Luciano said, we're so proud of our student council representatives and our officers. You can see all the hard work going on up there with students in grades 2 through 6 who participate monthly and come together to come up with ideas to help support our school. We are really excited about the One Book, One School partnership with Lydia Home, and we couldn't have done that without our PTA because they helped run the show with the One Book, One School. So we're really grateful to them and to all of these guys for all their help before school, during recess, during lunch, after school. It's been really awesome. So we're really lucky to have these wonderful officers up here with us.
In stealing 2 words from Ms. Mattson, the word amazing and supportive, I would like to announce my president of the PTA for Fairmount School, who is in his wrapping up his first year, Mr. Jeff Chunkus.
And obviously guests and PTA and teachers, first, thanks for having us out here for a few minutes. I really appreciate it. I just want to focus on a few key things from my perspective as a board president. I look at our role, and my role really in what we're doing together is really member-driven, collaborative, impacting all the students, and most importantly, having some fun. So one of the important things, as you probably all know, is PTA has a lot of volunteers, a lot of committees. We have about 28 committees, about 40 or so members of those committees, and over 140 plus families that are part of our PTA membership overall. Each one of these committee chairs kind of has a lot of latitude with respect to how they want to drive their agenda, what they want to get done for the various events, some of you've already heard about. My role really is to just work collaboratively with Mrs. Nefratos, who I want to thank for my first-time PTA board member and president in helping me get into this role as well. Every one of the PTA meetings, I make sure we have open time for not only the principal, but the teachers, as well as all the committee chairs to report on what they're doing, what their ideas are, and how we can work together as a school and as a board. A couple of the things that I do want to emphasize in terms of impacting all the students. We obviously don't have every member of the school or family as a PTA, but everything we do is focused on helping every student, whether it's a small thing in the classroom or a large event, like one of our events we did this year was a cultural night. And I give great kudos to the two chairs who did this event. It was actually at O'Neill, with over 200 families. We had food, we had about 24 tables representing different countries, so the kids got to eat from different diet, food items from the country, learn about the country and the culture at those tables, all done with volunteers, as well as have dance and other educational opportunities. It's a great event for the community to come together. It wasn't just students and parents, it was also families that were there. And obviously, most importantly, have some fun. So obviously we do field day, we do all these great events. One little event I think we thought was pretty cool, our new VP of programs did a mother-son dodgeball event. So we went down there, we got the no scratch, no hurt, soft dodgeballs, but it was quite a fun time. We actually had to break it up into two groups, K through 3 and 4 through 6, and I can guarantee you there were a lot of young men eating their vegetables later that week after the event. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I really do appreciate my role as PTA president to be more engaged with my kids and the kids of the school, as well as with the parents and teachers. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's challenging on this evening to pick one amazing thing to really highlight when you're part of such an amazing school community. But a little something we started about 20 months ago was called the Student Focus Committee, or as we now call it at Fairmont is SFC. And we didn't really know how big it could possibly be and maybe the level of impact that it could have. So I'm going to show you a little video to maybe give you an idea of what it has done for our school and for our community, for our teachers in school.
Committee at Fairmont started last year. We're really excited because every 6 weeks we have a different focus. So this year we've done be an example, be generous, be big-hearted, and now we're in the middle of be a team player.
Our SFC here at Fairmont had a modest start, but has blossomed, some might even say bloomed, into a school-wide celebration of positive student interaction.
If you look up enthusiasm in the dictionary, this fifth grader's picture would be.
I feel like this student is constantly going above and beyond, making sure that her classmates know that she's there for them and that she's always willing to be carried.
And break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious.
As a new teacher at Fairmont, I have incorporated the Be Fairmont focuses in my morning meetings. They are a great way for students to connect the different topics to our SEL lessons. The students get really excited when they or their peers receive an award. It helps build community in the classroom.
What I love is that I can incorporate those themes and topics into my lessons. When I say, remember when we talked about empathy, or remember when we talked about perseverance, and they all know what those words mean.
The initial goal of the teachers on the Student Focus Committee was to start to recognize genuine examples of students exemplifying those characteristic traits. But one of the things I've been noticing in the classroom is that the students are starting to recognize others who are portraying being big-hearted or being generous. I had a student who came up to me and said, "Would you please recognize this person because of A, B, and C?" And she gave me many examples of one of her peers who was showing a big heart. It was really cool to see that not only are the teachers excited about it, but the students are really buying in too.
I was recognized for being an example, and it made me feel happy when my teacher called me up and said my name, and that he picked me because I was an example to my peers and my friends and all the people in my class.
I was recognized at the Be Fairmont Assembly because I was being generous about one of my friends that couldn't get one of her brands. She couldn't find one. She might have not had one, but I was still okay to give it to her. And also, it made me real happy. And I was working really hard to get one.
A proper, big-hearted person who is in the classroom. This person never complains, always positive, always comes to school with a smile on his face.
Just others reaching out to peers, and the grade levels always have a smile on their face.
This is someone who is very cooperative with other kids. She can work with anybody and always be helpful.
Who in my class makes us smile all the time?
The Student Focus Committee has given all students a chance to shine in ways even outside of the classroom. I love when they come back from the lunch recognition with their little certificates beaming like, look, Mrs. Maselli, look, Mrs. Maselli. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, I know I gave that to you, but I'm so excited that they're excited, and I know they're really happy to share that with their parents and families because I've gotten emails and great feedback from parents about that. So SFC has been great for our school.
This is me. 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 This is me.
And this is me. This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
What? This is me.
Coincidentally enough, sometimes things just work out. That last picture you saw is a kindergarten student, and they were charged with the activity of writing a sentence to wrap something up, and what she wrote is, "We are Fairmount." And I feel like that's just the best way that I can wrap up what this committee has worked to accomplish, is that we established a theme, we established a committee, but even more than that, we move forward in establishing this community that has this major buy-in and really recognize the you and the me in every single individual. So I'm so proud of this committee, I'm so proud of the staff, and just so very proud of these 4 students, but also every member of our student body. So thank you for having us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have some gifts for the students as well. Thank you. Okay, thank you again for sharing all the wonderful things happening at your school. We appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great job.
Next on tonight's agenda is non-action reports. The board would like to formally recognize all the students who participated in the winter athletics at Herrick and O'Neill Middle Schools. Thank you to the coaches for their hard work and support of our students. Next is the spotlight on our schools with Dr. Cremascoli.
Thank you. And actually, before we jump into the spotlight, we would also like to recognize a few of our board members who will be leaving us. This is their final regular meeting, and for John Miller and Doug Purcell and Elizabeth Siegel, you have made a difference in our district, and so we wanted to take a minute and invited your family to join us so that we could recognize you. So I have a few words I'd like to say. Darren, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you, Carrie. I did want to take some time today and acknowledge all of the hard work that you guys have done, you guys have provided over 22 years of combined service, and you've made this district better with it. We've all seen your passion, your intelligence, your knowledge of Downers Grove and the district, and your dedication, but I think what maybe we don't always see, but it's a tremendous amount of heart that you guys put in to the work that's done. We talk about a lot of boring and mundane things here, building maintenance, technology purchase, and stuff like that. And yes, all of you have been good stewards of our district's finances, but I know that even those mundane questions you're always asking, is this what's best for students? And I know that the kids are always what you guys are taking into your heart. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that as well. I want to acknowledge your families that are here, and Elizabeth's family as well, because all of us on this at this table here are married with children, and I'll tell you, if you don't have a supportive spouse, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we do, because there are a lot of late meetings or phone calls or side conversations that we have at our kids' sporting events, things like that. So we really, really appreciate all of the work that you guys do in the background as well. Just a couple side notes. John, you've been my neighbor on the dais, my partner on FAC, and you've also been my resident historian. I regularly call John to kind of get background context of what we're working on, and somehow we end up talking about what Ogden Avenue looked like in 1983. And how you know that when you were a child and you lived nowhere near Downers Grove, I'm not sure, but I appreciate all the hard work that you've done in sort of learning all the history of what's going on around here. I think the whole world knows how passionate you are about the work that we do, but I don't know that everyone knows how approachable you are. Every time I see someone pull you to the side, you're always so willing, and you were willing with us, to really walk us through everything and make sure that we had the knowledge that we need. And I've seen you do that with countless number of parents and community members. So we're not doing superlatives tonight, but if I was, I would put for you most likely to come back regularly to board meetings. So I expect to see you on the other side here in the future. Doug, I just want to say that your leadership has been unparalleled, and you were exactly what this board needed when we changed over 2 years ago. You really guided this board well, and I greatly appreciate that and the work that you did to coach the new board members. I've watched the work that you've done to reach out to the community, the staff, the admin, the parents, and I can tell you from the people that I've talked to, it's so greatly appreciated. I don't know if everyone knows that he's also a representative on SACID, which is a whole other board that takes a lot of his time, where he's also the VP, and which has really allowed you to meet so many people around the community. And I got to tell you that your reputation is strong. When I was at the III conference back in November, somebody goes, "Oh, you're on 58? Doug Purcell is your president. He's fantastic. Your board is amazing." And what a great accolade to hear when you're sitting in a meeting down in Chicago, and God only knows where they actually were from, but they were very well aware of your work, and I greatly appreciate that. And I know you have such a hard dedication to service. I just really, really look forward to what's coming next for you. Elizabeth couldn't be here, her family couldn't be here today, but I did want to say a couple words about her and the fact that she really has been the backbone for this board over the at least the last 2 years that I've served with her. Somehow she's managed to squeeze 10 years worth of service into 4 years. I've never seen anyone work so hard. She's probably one of the smartest people I've ever worked with, but she's also the nicest. And just so everybody knows, she serves this community well beyond the work that she does on this board, and I expect that we'll be seeing a lot more of her around Downers Grove in the future. So just thank you all for the service that you've done for us, and thank you for making this a wonderful board to work with. So thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
I didn't prepare anything, and I know that Carrie's got. I can just see that you have some notes, so I didn't want to be the one with the last word. I went up to Doug's kids beforehand and said a few words to them, and his daughter was so unimpressed with what I said. I was trying to tell her like how proud. I was trying to tell his kids how proud they should be of Doug. Doug's a great guy. Same to John. So I'm saying it again so it really sinks in. I have so much respect for the work that you guys have done, how much you serve the community, how much you've done for kids, and just getting to know you has been just awesome, just a great experience. And I'm sobered right now by what Darren just said, the 22 years of experience that we're losing. So we're going to go from 22 to 7. So that scares me a little bit, but we'll get by because we know that you guys will be there a phone call away. So just thank you for everything you've done for Downers Grove and for the community. It's been great getting to know you guys. Our paths never have crossed otherwise, but it's been tremendous. So I know that not all of your kids are here, but so I'm just going to ask the kids are here to say to the other ones that your dads are awesome. And if Elizabeth's kids were here, I would say the same. You guys all should be very proud of your parents.
Thank you.
I'll let you have the last word. I echo everything that was said earlier.
All right, so I just have a little background for those who haven't been with us for 22 years. Board members Purcell, Miller, and Siegel have served the Board of Education here with passion and commitment for 22 years combined. Gosh, I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but go figure. Their focus has always been on keeping kids first, and they've worked tirelessly to ensure District 58 meets our mission of challenging and engaging each child by providing high-quality educational programs and preparing our children to make significant contributions to their world. So during their tenure, they have been involved in nearly every issue a Board of Education might face. When Doug and John took office, our school buildings were in dire need of repair. Roofs needed replacement, district-wide available funds were insufficient. Together, they helped to lead the charge to overcome several major roadblocks, I won't start naming them right now, to address our significant facility needs while expanding programs for students and improving learning environments for all students. Each has brought a wealth of financial acumen to the board, along with a willingness to make difficult decisions that focus on students and on the long-term success of our district. When Elizabeth joined them about 5 years later, the district was in the midst of significant improvements in technology, in curriculum, and in instructional practices. If you consider this, during their collective service to the board, our district experienced the integration of the Common Core standards, new student assessments such as the PARC and MAP, and now the IAR, unprecedented financial strains and threats on funding, as well as major school additions and safety security improvements, while also supporting the development and implementation of new educational programs. Our one-to-one program, our biliteracy program, full-day kindergarten enrichment, several new special education programs, and again, significant improvements in safety and security. Members Purcell and Miller and Siegel have supported advancements in student learning and in staff professional development. They've provided leadership for several contract negotiations, have significantly expanded our community engagement efforts, and have led strategic planning and hired 2 superintendents at this point, all while working hard to chart a path for the future that will ensure continued success for our district for many years to come. So, John, as the old saying goes, from soup to nuts, these 3 have done it all, and throughout have consistently stayed focused.
That's a good inside joke. That's our only inside joke.
Have consistently stayed focused on making District 58 a better place for our children. So, it has not always been easy, but we have all benefited from your vision, your dedication, and your service to our schools. So thank you on behalf of our schools, on behalf of our students, on behalf of our staff, on behalf of our community. We want to thank the 3 of you for your service to our district. We want to thank your families for their unending sacrifice in sharing you with us, and we truly appreciate all that you've done for our district and our schools. So thank you.
You're here.
So we do have a plaque for our outgoing
I was hoping
board
they'd get a
members.
T-shirt.
Not a T-shirt, although if you'd like one, we have several. We also have flowers for their wives and family who joined us today in recognition for their service as well. So we'll just go ahead and give out those plaques and flowers right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if we could, we'd just like to get a picture with the family and
Happens to be one of my daughter's birthdays today.
And it's Mary's birthday. And she's horrified. Celebrate.
My 2 oldest are high schoolers.
How cute is that?
That's all my grandmas.
I think so.
Want to be on the other side, Gary?
It's just Mary. Mary's.
It's around Mary.
Yes.
Over here, so we have slightly different lighting. The lighting is terrible anywhere in this room. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you. Mary? And then we're going to let them go. They can stay if they'd like.
I think the wives are over here drinking.
Unfortunately, you and Doug are not allowed yet.
There might be a basketball game or something going on tonight.
Oh, right.
Is that why the crowd is so small?
That might be.
Dang, I forgot.
Thank you for indulging us with a few comments and recognition for you. We know the reorganization and budget workshop has become a little complicated in scheduling, so we have a few announcements later to help everyone know what's coming up in our schedule. But knowing that this is your last official meeting, regular meeting, we wanted to take a moment and acknowledge and thank you, so.
Thank you very much.
For letting us do that. And the spotlight
Okay.
is up next.
Yeah, please.
I always hate following those things. The spotlight this evening is on the Health and Wellness Committee. I did the test, so I'm just guessing with it. I pressed the button. The committee is set up, it was created as part of a negotiation settled with the DGEEA and the DGCMA. It's a collaborative group that has representatives from both the teachers union and the custodial maintenance union. It has 3 administrators and 1 liaison from the Board of Education. Greg is the liaison, and I have Angie, and Angie's here from custodians, who are both members of the committee. It works in a format that previously the district had an insurance committee, so it was when we moved into this format, it was an easier transition than in some cases where a lot of things are foreign and everyone has to, to come to refocus on it. So some of the members had already seen a quarterly basis some of the insurance information. But we have monthly meetings. We went from a quarterly to a monthly meeting. And there we have our consultant, who is Mike Baker from Group Alternatives, which happens to also be actually headquartered here in Downers Grove. And he goes through the monthly claims and what's going on in insurance and in benefits overall. Some of the trends, data, ideas, suggestions, things that are going on, wellness incentives, and the committee starts looking at some alternatives and some ways to continually keep good, strong benefits, but control the costs that are involved. And in healthcare, I was just reading the Wall Street Journal on Saturday morning about an article about how employers are using data and a lot, to help and work with workers to select doctors that are more proficient in their craft, so that they have return to work faster, lower costs, a variety of things. So it's always something in every newspaper, I think, once a week about healthcare costs and controls and what's going on with that area. So the committee keeps working and listening and going through those pieces. We've had pharmacists from Aetna come in and talk about prescriptions, some of those areas, and some suggestions and ideas to look at. So a big, important piece to the committee is the continual communication piece from the employee group to us as administrators in support as to how to make sure, how is our communications going out and being received, and how effective are we, and what are we doing, and how can we change some things so that we are getting things through to everyone. We do a variety of emails. We do some snail mail things if we have to, posters, whatever, and we keep talking about how do we continually improve the communication to benefits and information, and so we keep working on that, and it's a really important part of the committee's work. To kind of go through some of the benefits, the district offers a variety of benefits. It actually has four separate health plans. It has a PPO, or the universal plan. It has a high deductible bronze plan for those. It has a baseline for the Affordable Care Act. We have a reduced structure, a PPO that has a different benefit structure. And effective January 1st of 2019, we offered a high deductible plan with an HSA where the district has a contribution into it. And for employees, it's $1,250. For families, it's $2,500. We had about 20 people take that with our open enrollment that happened in November. That's the first time we had open enrollment meetings throughout the district. We actually videotaped the first one, put it on the website for people who couldn't make the meetings. The teachers union adjusted their schedule for one of their meetings to make sure that we could have some time before the meeting at where their meeting was held, so we tried to maximize efforts to get as many people in. And I think we had over 40 people in that meeting. So along with those, we have a vision insurance, we have a dental insurance, we have life. The district has a benefit as life insurance. We've switched to a pharmacy management system for PBX. We also manage a flex spending and the health savings accounts. So it's a fairly large amount of work. The annual cost benefit is between the district and employees. 80%, 85% or more is the district, but is about $9 million a year. We're a self-insured fund. We purchase stop-loss insurance. It's a big undertaking, and the committee takes it very seriously as to how, and it's been a very effective format for communication, going through and talking through with everybody. We have about 473 employees, and we have, with employees, spouses, and dependents, about 1,153 individuals right now under that piece. One of the things that the committee made a recommendation for, I'm going to go back through some of the recommendations the committee has done and changes that we've made in the last year. If the board recalls, back in December, the committee's first recommendations were two things. One, to bring forward an optional life insurance that offered up to $200,000 guaranteed life. We had 83 people take advantage of that in the first open enrollment. That took effect March 1st for that piece. We also made a recommendation to change our PBX, or our prescription manager. Our system previously was with Aetna. It was an older contract. The district did not receive as many rebates. It also had a little higher price structure for the drugs that were included in it. By switching to Caremark CVS, we save an estimated $500,000 a year on the plan because we get greater rebates, and the costs that are negotiated are lower on the new plan. It is somewhat ironic because Caremark CVS now wholly owns Aetna. So we'll see how that transpires. There are some, and there's some more benefits apparently coming that CVS will do deliveries and things. So it works everywhere. It's one of the big questions we have. You can go to Walgreens and Osco's or wherever to get your prescriptions filled, even though the card says CVS. I think there are some additional benefits. We'll work through that. So, but the committee continues to work through open enrollment discussions and conversations about benefits and so forth. So, just listing some of the changes, we did put the HSA in. Also, January 1st is one of the negotiated pieces, was a $200 copay for ER visits that hadn't been there previously, in an effort to reduce those costs. ER is the most expensive place to get medical care, and so by putting that on there, working with people and educating the importance of using urgent care, calling in. We also have a service called Teledoc, where people can enroll and then call and pay a small amount of money, even within their deductible piece, and for many things, get prescriptions called in from a doctor. It's a doctor within the United States that they talk to. I think it's within 20 to 30 minutes, return phone call, and and it's a great way to avoid even the urgent care costs of showing up at one of those and waiting. So, we've put that into place too. So we continue to work on education. Backing up. Things that we're working on for the future. We have done a lot in a short period of time. However, it takes time for those items to take effect. The HSA and the ER copay came in effect January 1st. The prescription change happened March 1st. We are looking at claims now for January and for February. We haven't even seen a claim listing, and we won't until maybe June, when we start to see what that impact is for that prescription drug card, because, March ended, we won't see those claims for a little bit. And then come April, we'll see those and start to see some more impact. So it takes some time for some of these pieces to get adjusted, but the committee continually works to find ways and look at some areas that we can focus our energies to help employees and their dependents with their health needs, without reducing benefits, but also controlling costs for the district and for the individuals. Areas that we're going to concentrate on for the next year is going to be more on wellness. One of the things that we're looking at is a diabetes management service. Looking at not just our group, but overall the nation. I think Mike threw out, 1/3 of our country is either diabetic or pre-diabetic. What can we do to make sure we're managing some of those costs? And so there's some services that we're going to be looking at that we may be bringing a recommendation down the road to the board that adds some service level that will help people manage those things and help control those costs. Because the best way for controlling costs of insurance is not to use it. We hopefully would like to do it in a manner that focuses on wellness and people managing these things versus reduction of benefits. And I think that's always been our goal, and that's the goal of the committee. So, so that's where we're looking towards the future and where we're headed. We've started this year with creating the committee, everyone getting up to speed and understanding things. It takes a year. If you haven't looked at insurance information, it takes a real good year to continually see it every month and to get a good grasp on it for most people. And that's starting, to really work well, and people ask questions. And so next year, though, is going to be a focus on what we can do to continue communication piece, but also what wellness incentives we can put in to help impact long-term benefits. So with that, are there any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple. I guess I want to know how you were able to communicate so well about the high deductible plan, because I remember the Sea of Red in this lovely little document here saying how they hated it, nobody would join it, and we're shoving it down their throats, and it wasn't even our idea. It sounds like it was the committee's idea. So what was the...
I can tell them how you did such a great job on that. Honestly, it's because now we're bringing back information to our members. We're communicating with them more. We're explaining to them how it's to some of their benefits to do that. There's a lot of people that don't use insurance. Younger people, bless you, James obviously needs to start using it.
Maybe just the prescription part.
That's why they were like, wow, really? I'm going to give money. So when you individually go around and talk to people, so, we as the different unions, I think, have been reaching out to our people, going around talking to them individually, going, hey, do you realize what this is, how this could benefit you in the long run? And they're listening. So I think next year, I think it's going to probably triple, because there's a lot of younger people that really don't use insurance. They don't need to.
Okay. So you did a much better job. Maybe you can explain to the other union officials, because they were asking their members to protest violently against it. Now I see that they're voluntarily joining it. I think it's just interesting that it's kind of like the health saving, or the medical savings account. Even math teachers can't figure it out.
I think there's a structure too with the committee format, in that it's been my experience, no tough choices come when they come from one side. At a prior district, I had a person who, the first two meetings, said, well, what are you going to do to us? And I said, well, it's not what I'm going to do, it's what we're going to come up with and do. And it took a few months for that to get through and to work to the point where, there was an ownership piece. I think because, we'd gone through the negotiation piece and kind of struggled with some of the growth of rates that have been happening and what we're looking at. It's starting to happen a little bit faster here than I've seen previously, but I think it is really a co-ownership piece.
Yeah, we own it.
And like I said, the committee does work on a consensus basis. We don't really have formal votes. We do, ask, and in some cases, if not everybody's ready yet, we'll go another month, or we'll have another meeting, and we'll schedule something. Because we want everyone to be comfortable with the data and ask for information and get through it before they're going to go forward, and before we bring that recommendation to the board. And I think that's going to be key. We still only have 20 people in the HSA. Out of 473, it's not a lot. So we need a lot more work towards that way. But I think we are going to see a doubling and tripling at the next open enrollment, because now we have 20 people who are out there saying, they're enjoying enjoying that benefit, and they see a strong benefit to having that format and plan.
Well, I applaud you on the communications, because it's amazing when people actually listen and aren't trying to just pout, that they actually figure out what actually is in their best interest. So I'm happy that it's working, even though it wasn't the board's decision. The board never suggested this. The board left it up to the committee, yet they stuffed the room saying we were trying to take their insurance away. And if I sound a little bitter, I am, because it was a flat-out lie, and then they don't even bother to show up in the meeting where we talk about it.
So I think the key moving forward is that education piece and that collaborative decision-making, that consensus building, and making sure that everyone has the opportunity to really learn and understand what those benefits are. It is really hard and can be very scary to think about an insurance change if you don't have all the information. And at this point, it is critically important, as I think Todd's second to last slide maybe highlighted, that the focus moving forward really is educating our staff and looking at wellness incentives. Insurance is not going to get easier. There isn't a silver bullet, so to speak. Costs will continue to go up, but together, if we're working together and we're educating our entire groups, we really can help together to make some consensus decisions there.
And we are working at, there are some strong financial pieces to it, that some strong pressures on the district. This is $9 million, and it is 85% paid for, out of the, and when we see 10 and 15% renewals, that is a significant, large amount of money that is going to have to go that way. So we have to live within those pieces and understand at some point we may have to make other adjustments, because simply that communication piece isn't going to be enough. But
it's 14% or more of our budget, just that one piece, just the health cares.
Yeah, it's a huge piece of it. Yes.
Well, hats off to you too, Todd.
Yeah,
I think you predicted this in many of our meetings about how it was going to go, that it would start off slow, and your prediction was right. Well, we'll see next year, but so far, touch wood, so far.
I gave myself the room.
Very good. Yeah. No, it's getting it started, and people tell their friends, hey, it's working out for me, and maybe other people take a look, and maybe it works out for them, maybe it doesn't, but well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Angie.
Thank you, Angie.
I just want to say one more thing. Insurance is a real funny thing for people, and people have a lot of different issues, with their health, and their families, and different dynamics, and I think it's scary for people. And so until somebody that is maybe a coworker of theirs explains to them, because nothing against, people always look at things at two different sides, that there's, their side and her side and his side and, the other one side, and I think people are understanding that we're all the same team when it comes to insurance. We're self-insured, so we're just paying for ourselves. So I think it's just been a real eye-opener for people to have somebody come over to them and be like, listen, one-on-one, this is what's going on, this is why this is going up, this is why you can't have this anymore. And Todd and all the staff has done a wonderful job of really explaining it to everybody and listening to everybody's concerns. So this committee meeting all the time, I think that's made a big impact on everybody.
And I applaud you. You've done a great job. You're just a great communicator. And really, I've been on the board for almost 10 years, and you're one of the best communicators we've had to the employees, so I really applaud it. Yeah. The fact that you sit here in one meeting and explain the whole thing, and people understand it, I think that's great. I hope to see more of that in the future.
Well, thank you. And also, here, I'm going to put in my 2 cents. Thank you for everybody on the board. We've all worked together, I thought, really well for negotiations, and that's a big deal. That's really important. So thank all of you. Thank you for kind of listening to us, and understand that people sometimes talk and maybe they're just shooting off their mouth. They might not be speaking for everyone. So also remember that just because one person or 2 people out there saying something, that might not be the majority. That just might be the biggest mouths. So.
Thank you.
You know how that goes.
We do.
So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Todd? Okay. Next on tonight's agenda is communications. Listed on the agenda are 23 communications received by the board. Are there any additional communications board members would like to share at this time? Okay. If not, the reports to the board will start with the superintendent report with Dr. Cremascoli.
Thank you. Just a few things to report, as well as a couple of announcements. First of all, while we want to acknowledge and appreciate our outgoing board members, we're also excited to welcome and orient our incoming board members as well. So we're looking forward to having Steve and Emily and Tracy join us. We have some activities upcoming. We have an orientation that we've scheduled, and we're looking forward to the election results that will be certified, we hear, on April 23rd. And then the reorganization meeting, as most people know, has to occur after that and before the 30th. So we have this very close window. So it's looking like the reorganization meeting will occur on April 25th at 5 o'clock at Longfellow. The budget workshop, which was originally scheduled for the 22nd, the timing is just a little funny with the reorganization, and so it's looking like that will be rescheduled to April 29th. We'll still keep it at Pierce Downer. That will be at 7 o'clock, and we'll still have a meet and greet with the staff beforehand. That will give our new board members the opportunity to engage a little bit with some of our staff members who might come out prior to the board workshop meeting that will occur on that evening as well. So we're looking forward to all of those activities and to, again, bringing up to speed our new board members. We also have some transition planning and activities happening with our new superintendent. We're really happy that Kevin Russell was able to join us tonight, and I think you'll start to see his face around our district quite a bit. We've talked a little bit about some opportunities to tour our schools and to join some of our upcoming meetings, and I think Kevin is going to be around as much as he possibly can as he juggles 2 jobs and his family at home as well. So we're really appreciative of his time and engagement during this transition as well. So thank you for being here. Later on tonight's agenda, we're pleased to celebrate and recommend to the board 12 outstanding teachers and educators for tenure for the district. So that's always a celebration when we're nearing the end of the school year, and we can offer tenure to some of our faculty members. In terms of announcements, we know that our STEM committee, our science team, have recommended some changes in curriculum. So we have the STEAM Studio, which isn't the science curriculum, but the exploratory curriculum that is being placed on display as of today at the ASC. And in the public library. It's also available online, and so this is an 8th grade exploratory course. We would like to invite anyone who's interested in reviewing that curriculum before it gets recommended and adopted to go ahead. You can log on and get the link, or you can come to the ASC or go to the public library and review those materials. We're excited about the work of our exploratory committee at the middle school. Other announcements, we have student registration that will open tomorrow, April 9th. This is a 2-step process, so those SNAP codes will go out to all of our current families. They'll complete the registration process, and then the invoice for student fees will come through push coin. So it's happening in a two-step process. Our sincere hope is that families, as soon as they get that SNAP code, will go ahead, log in, verify all the information, and get your child registered to return to school. That will help us with some of the personnel decisions and the staffing recall, teacher hiring that we want to do just as quickly as we can. So log in, get your student registered, and then there's a second step that you can complete that day or at a later date to pay those fees. I mentioned the budget workshop that is upcoming. We're also doing a lot of planning for the 1920 school year as we're looking at staffing, we're looking at our professional development, we're looking at all of the needs of our teachers and our students throughout next year. So there's a lot of planning that is happening now and will continue all throughout the summer. We have school open houses happening on the evenings of May 2nd and May 8th coming up. We have our Distinguished Service Award on April 30th and Select 58, which is a recognition of our 8th grade students, on May 6th. And finally, there's end-of-year events. There's a memo that will go out to all board members that kind of summarizes some of those events, including our promotion and the board retiree celebration that will occur on May 24th, so that's Friday. So for those new board members who are in the audience, a memo will come to you, if it hasn't already, very soon, that details out all of those upcoming activities. In fact, we'll probably talk through that on the 23rd when we're getting together for the orientation as well. So lots of additional information, but if you're debating about dates coming up, feel free to reach out to us so that we can make sure that we are helping you to transition as best we can as well. Okay, and I think that's all I have to report to the board.
Carrie, can I ask you a question?
Yes, Karen.
How do we access the STEAM Studio resources online if we wanted to explore them?
I think that there's a link. James, is there a...
There's a link on Board Docs.
Link in public content.
Under the superintendent's report.
It's fusestudio.net.
Do you see it there, Karan?
I don't, but I will.
So maybe if you refresh, it's under public content. It says Fuse Studio Public Display.
Okay. Perfect.
There's information there, and again, you can also, if you choose, you can come into the ASC or to the public library and access it that way as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Just got it.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Todd again with the monthly business.
Sorry. So yes, you have the monthly business, you have the year-to-date reports in there. We are into our low cash area. At the end of March, we had $9.5 million on hand. We need about $5 million a month because payroll is 2, accounts payable is 1. That's $10 million for April and May. So we need $500,000 to get through May, which we aren't worried about. We're going to get that in state revenue. Plus we have fees coming in. So it is looking at what the June payroll that first week is, that's $2 million. And if we will have local tax receipts and other money. So if you see in the May board meeting a borrowing piece that we would be looking at borrowing for some short term, and like 2 weeks, we may have to do that. We're tightening everything up and looking to make sure. As of right now, I would say we are okay, but we are going to be close. So, which we've continually, forecasted and talked about through the last couple of months. And that is actually one of those pieces in the year-to-date report. Last month, we went through this with the FAC on Thursday. Last month, we were running about $400,000 behind last year at this time. We've had some expenditure payments that came in. One was, delayed a month. So now we're back up to about 1.2. It's still better off than where we were previously, but we're $1.16 million behind where we were this time last year. Keeping in mind that we have also transferred $2.3 million out of operation funds, $1.6 million going to the MRF, $600,000 going into capital from working cash. So there is a purpose as to why that is low. know that we're watching and monitoring it and seeing what we can do. We've just billed out, I think, $300,000 in grant money to come back to us. That will come in the next 2 weeks. So we're monitoring that piece. The state right now owes us about $2.4 million. We did get some payments. We should get another payment in. Tax day is April 15th. It's usually after that the state issues some type of payments out to schools. So we should see hopefully another distribution before that June date. So that should help us out as well. A couple other things I wanted to talk about. There's we have tentative rates, and because we've got a tentative report, we haven't got a final from the county clerk, but I thought it rarely changes at this point. The overall increase in assessed value went up almost 4.5%. The aggregate, or the existing property, went up 3.6%. We had $24 million in new property for this year, 2018, coming on for the first time. Just some quick fun statistics. Since 2006 to 2018, we have had $247 million in assessed value, residential assessed value. If you take that as it's a third of the value, that's $742 million in market value in residential property from 2006 to current, actually from 2006 to the 2018 year, that has come on for its first time in rebuilds, brand new or other, in Downers Grove 58. That's an astounding number, $750 million.
For a landlocked community, that's astounding.
That does not include anything built within the 3 TIF districts. Some of it is residential downtown. So that doesn't include that, the big apartment building and so forth that's down there. Because I believe that is in the downtown TIF. So that TIF is, we have about $83 million in tax increment financing that is not available to us. Some of that is coming due in a couple of years. Some of it is out a little longer. And I haven't gone to look up to see when the little area that's TIF'd outside of in Oak Brook that we have. So, that is also in there as well. So it's even larger than that. So the tax rate is projected at 2.0182, which is down about 1.5% from the prior year. And with that, I have one other piece. There is one piece in there for paper bid, to reject the paper bid. We had one bid. It was substantially higher. We have come up with a solution that we will move to the state contract bid and purchase through the state contract. What that allows us to do, I don't know, for those who've ever toured our buildings, you see our stages are full of paper at the beginning of the year. With the state contract bid, we will not have to take all of our shipment at once because the market has changed for paper. We got a very low rate last year, but paper mills have closed. There have been 5 rate increases in the market since that bid. And so the state contract is within the parameters that we can take so much in at the beginning of the year and take so much in January and not have to store skids of paper where we can actually use space in our schools for other purposes, like for children. So our also hope is that maybe we'll be able to lower some of our purchasing of the paper in that process as well. So that is the reason you have that, as to reject the bid, and then we will go to that format.
Perfect.
And if there are questions.
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you again. Next is the Policy Committee with Member Harris.
All right, we met on March 19th, the ASC at 7 a.m., and we are bringing forward a number of policies for you to approve for first reading. Among them, 5100, 5101, and 5138 are there are minor changes in content, but most of it's driven by press, so we're just aligning with that. 5131 and 6002 are policies we're just reviewing because we're required to do so on a periodic basis, and there are no changes to either of them. We're just saying we reviewed them. And then 5138.2, there were reporting regulations that we are just adding to the policy, and we're deleting the regulations, but that doesn't require any board action. So we're just adding that piece to the actual policy and updating the policy. Anything I should add, Jill or Carrie? Okay. Thus, I conclude my report.
Okay. Once again, thank you for all your hard work in reviewing of these policies. This has been an ongoing process.
I would thank Carrie and Todd and Jane and Justin. I think they did a lot of.
Thank you to everyone involved. It's a lot of work. Thank you.
Good work.
Okay, so we will go on to the first reading. Is there a motion to approve for first reading policies 5100, admission residence, 5101, school admissions and student transfers, 5131, student behavior and discipline, 5138, prevention of and response to bullying, 5138.2, sexual harassment prohibited, and 6002 Title I programs. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried to approve for first reading policies 5100, 5101, 5131, 5138, 5138.2, and 6002. The Legislative Committee has not met since our last board meeting. Financial Advisory Committee did meet. Member Hughes.
Yeah, well, so you heard almost everything we talked about between the two presentations tonight. Both, we had a very aggressive agenda. We didn't get through all of our agenda. We actually had to kind of cut it off. We spent the majority of the time focused on the healthcare, the Health and Wellness Committee and the work that they're doing, and trying to get that joint buy-in in the process of figuring out how we have one pool of money that we have to spend, and how do we spend that? Are we increasing rates? Are we increasing fees? Are we adjusting plans? And you can see a lot of the changes they've made and the impact that it's had. The representatives that were there from the DGEEA did take a couple of moments to talk about how, since we've made this change and the discussions that are happening in there, it's been easier for them lately to go back and have some real conversations with their members, and they think that it's resonating more than they had expected it to in the past. So there was some level of acknowledgement of some of the stuff that you brought up earlier today.
Yeah, when you tell the truth, it really helps.
Well, yeah, and I think that sometimes when something's not on a tight timeline too, I think they're having the opportunity to really communicate that. So hopefully, when we get into January of this year and January the following year, some of these options look a little bit more exciting. I think that we've also talked about the fact, and Greg is our liaison on the Health and Wellness Committee. I think with how big of a budget item this is, I think it would be probably in our best interest to dive into this a little bit more often, and maybe that's something that you'd be able to kind of bring forward to us if there's any key points that are coming out of that. I think that we've talked about that, and I think that would be excellent as well. That was it pretty much on that front. We had the gentleman, what's the consulting firm's name?
Mike Baker from Group Alternatives.
Group Alternatives. So he walked through, just a lot of the options and sort of the impact that's been having on everybody. And so it was a very nice conversation. It was summed up well tonight. So that was pretty much the majority of the time. And then the business report we heard today was also talked in detail as well. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. Okay.
Good. Thank you. The district leadership team has not met since our last board meeting, so next is the reception of visitors. This is an opportunity for members of the audience to share comments with the board, subject to reasonable constraints, but is not intended to be a time for members of the public to enter into a dialogue with the board. Issues raised during public participation may be added to future agendas or addressed by administrative staff as appropriate. Criticism of individuals is not in order. In accordance with board policies 8022 and 1150, individuals appearing before the board are expected to follow these guidelines. 1, any person addressing the board shall identify yourself, state your name, school attendance area, and shall speak as briefly as possible. 2, the board president has the authority to determine procedural matters regarding public participation not otherwise in board policy, including time limitations when appropriate. 3, the president is responsible for the orderly conduct of the meeting and shall rule on such matters as the time to be allowed for public discussion and the appropriateness of the remarks to the subject under consideration. At this time, if anyone would like to speak, please stand, state your name and your attendance area, unless we have some cards in the basket. No, so we can open it up.
Again, anybody that wants to tell a joke is welcome to do that.
Maybe there's a basketball game tonight.
Maybe there's a basketball game.
Two superintendents walking.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. That concludes the reception of visitors.
Okay.
Sure. We'll skip the recess, and Member Miller would like to have a quick comment.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody, and I want to congratulate the 3 new board members. If your passion on the board is any bit as much as your passion has been as parents and residents, you will be superior board members. I have all the confidence in the world that this will work very well together. I just ask you the 4 remaining board members on here are wonderful people. They're great people to work with. I have all the respect for every board member I've ever worked with, even a very challenging one when I first got on. I still respect what that person stood for, and sometimes we don't have to all agree, but nobody said democracy's clean. It's kind of a messy process, but it works, right? So I applaud you all, and I think you will do very, very well. It's a challenge. I'll tell you. When I first came on the board, a couple board members asked me, so, this was 2009, so what makes you think you're going to be a good board member? And, it's just, like a regular interview, you go through the things, because my first 2 years was appointed. And they said, can you give me an experience of how you dealt with difficult people? And I said, this has got to be easy, because in 2009, I was 1 year removed from spending a year in Afghanistan, and I was on an embedded training team. I lived day and night with the Afghan army. And I said, if I can deal with those guys, and if I can deal with the Taliban villagers, this should be no problem. I did not realize that comparison was so close to reality that you could do things to neutralize the Taliban. There's things here you just can't do to neutralize people. But anyway, it's been a great experience. It's always kids first. I'll tell everybody that. Every board member I have, they remember that. It's your customers are the taxpayers, right? They choose to send their kids here. They don't have to send their kids here, but they choose to send their kids here. They choose to live here. We have great staff. We have great administrators. I had the pleasure, along with Doug, you've been a good board member, a good friend. Our families even became closer together over the years. Now we can just go have a beer and talk like grumpy old men and talk about the good old days, right? But we both had the pleasure of hiring 2 fantastic superintendents. District 58 draws the best of the best. When we have to choose, there are great candidates that come here. I say this from experience of 2 candidates. Carrie, you have always put kids first. You were my #1 choice on paper, and when you got in here, I'm like, okay, that confirms it. And you've just been a wonderful person in adversity. You always put kids first, even when it makes your job tougher not to just cave into something. I have never once seen you not say, what's best for the kids? I know this is hard for you, but what's best for the kids? So I will miss you. I will miss you in the community. I wish you were staying around. Our kids kind of all, our sons are the same age and in high school together. They play on the basketball team. Our daughters are the same age, and they've kind of gone to school together all these years, and they're on basketball teams together. And I got to coach your daughter. You got to coach my daughter. Softball, I couldn't keep them. You dragged them over to basketball. So, and then Kevin, I am so excited. I judge a person by how they carry themselves and how they relate to their families, and both of you light up when your families are around or when your families are mentioned. And even in the interview, even though you don't ask questions about families, you manage to somehow build your character around how you lead your families. And that's how you lead a district, their families. So I really appreciate it. I would be remiss if I didn't thank one of the most important people in my life, my kids' life, my wife's life. They all said, I said, what was the best thing about District 58? And they said, Mrs. Lyons. She is by far the best teacher God ever created. She has had a profound impact on all three of my kids. She's had a profound impact on me and my wife. She is just a gift. Kids love her. Parents love her. I can't imagine that anybody that works with her does not love her. So that's what it's all about. If you want to know what District 58's about, take a picture of Cheryl Lyons, and you have it right there. I'm going to have to also throw in, all three of my kids did not have this one, so I couldn't get a unanimous vote, but Mrs. Jernick is right there too. She just had a profound impact on both my girls, and I wish Maggie could have been here, because the day she met you, Carrie, you showed up at school, each school welcoming people, and she goes, I got to meet the superintendent, and she is wonderful. I did not know women could be in that position. And I was like, you've been a mentor forever. She still wants that doggone red coat you wore that first day. So she's off to college, believe it or not. And that's a testament to District 58. Our kids excel at 99. 99 does not excel if District 58 does not excel. There is no way that District 99 could be as successful as they are, and they are by far one of the best places to send your kids to school. And part of that is because we prepare the kids well to go there. So I am so proud of my children. I'm proud of Carrie. I'm proud of the teachers. And it's just been a wonderful ride. It's time for this grumpy old man to retire. But I will be out in that audience, and I am looking for so much fun when I can say, what are you going to do about it? And not have to have the answer. So that'll be fun. Doug, it's been an absolute pleasure. You are a really good man, and I think you guys said it best. Nobody works harder than Elizabeth. She is smart beyond a shadow of a doubt. She is really good. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
That's a tough one to follow. I'll be a lot more brief. I'll start with thanking my fellow board members. The past few years with you guys has been great. We've worked with several different boards. This one, I think, is the hardest working as a group to a person. Everybody chips in, and I wish Elizabeth were here to hear that, because I would say exactly what John said. Elizabeth's the hardest working board member that I've ever come across. Not a slight to anyone else. All of you guys do a fantastic job. The administrators. I think what makes Downers Grove special, people think it's the community schools, which certainly that's why we moved to Downers Grove, so that our kids could walk to school. I happen to be fortunate where my kids can walk to all their schools. Other people have to walk to some, or they get a short bus ride. But what really makes our school special is the people. It's the teachers, it's the custodians, it's the maintenance. I'm shocked John didn't mention how old our buildings are.
Whittier's 90 years old.
Right. He reminds us every couple of meetings. But the fact that our buildings are still in such great shape is because people care for them. And it's not just the maintenance. The teachers care for them, the administrators, and everybody here. The long hours, the extra time, and the people who aren't here, and the teachers who are on all the committees. The employees are what makes this district so special. And really, that everyone here puts kids first, and really a lot of love. And that's what makes everything so special in 58. So I'm happy to just have been a very small part of it. So good luck, and thank you. And congratulations, Kevin. Next is the approval of the minutes. Are there any suggested revisions to the minutes as presented in the packet of materials? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 11th, 2019 meeting as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to approve the minutes of the March 11th, 2019 meeting as presented. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 1st, 2019 meeting as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried to approve the minutes of the April 1st, 2019 meeting as presented. Next is the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items a board member would like to have considered separately?
Yes, number 6, the 2019-2022 Administrator's Handbook.
Okay. Then, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the personnel report, items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, as presented in the packet of materials?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
Oh, okay, right. Melissa, will you please call roll?
Member Hughes.
Aye.
Member Miller.
Aye.
Member Samanti.
Aye.
Member Joshi.
Aye.
Member Harris.
Aye.
And Member Purcell.
Aye. The motion carried on the consent agenda regarding the personnel report, items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I actually didn't call the motion for the financial reports, so we'll have to do that as well. Let's do that next. Is there a motion to approve the financial reports, which includes the list of bills and the summary, as stated in the packet of materials?
So moved.
Second.
Melissa, please call roll.
Member Miller.
Aye.
Member Samanti.
Aye.
Member Joshi.
Aye.
Member Harris.
Aye.
Member Hughes.
Aye.
Member Purcell.
Aye. The motion carried. The consent agenda regarding the financial reports, the list of bills, and summary has been approved as presented in the packet of materials. Next.
Is there a motion to approve
right.
the
Is there a mo-
2019-2022 Administrator Handbook?
Right. Is there a motion to approve under the personnel report, item 6, the 2019 through 22 Administrator's Handbook?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Right. Any discussion now?
Yeah, I just was taking a little retiring board member privilege here. Since we can't discuss it if it's in there, I just wanted to say, this isn't the unsung heroes of District 58. They get garbage pushed up and garbage pushed down. They have to do a lot. So anytime something gets past a teacher and has to be elevated, it's elevated to them. Every time something has to be pushed down from the superintendent, it either goes to the central office administrators or it goes to the building administrators. Our building administrators are your best friend. They're the disciplinarian. They're the mentor to their students. They have to be curriculum experts. They have to be managers. We give them a lot of responsibility, and they don't necessarily have the authority anybody else would in that position in any other industry because, you know, when they have a problem, they have to deal with it. They cannot just make employment problems go away. They have to figure out how to fix it. So, I just applaud them, and I just wanted to say how much I've respected them over the years. I saw Mr. Lynn here earlier. He's a valued member of the community. He's here not because he's a principal. He's here because he's his kids in the community too. So thank all of you over there. And the new board members will find out just how hard they work, especially when certain problems come up. You're like, oh my God, I cannot believe that that's a complaint and how many hours you've spent on that. Driving home in ice storms, Jane, God bless you. I almost was like ready to call my wife and say, you have got to get the kids out of one room and a spare room.
Yes.
I can't even get down the steps at Village Hall, and she's going to drive out to Shannon, or where I was like, okay, so thanks. And Justin, you're wonderful. I mean, I've known you for a while because your musical talent throughout the community, you've played accompaniment to my kids. So not only are you a dedicated administrator, you're also another dedicated community member. So just a special thing. So there was nothing in there that I disagreed with, and I know people were like, oh my God, what the hell are these doing talking about? I just don't think, and I'm sorry for this, but I'm not sure in my 10 years I've ever been able to thank the people that get the least amount of thanks. When parents are mad, they're mad at you because you can't solve their problem in 3.2 seconds. Give them 4 seconds and you usually solve it, but so thanks. You deserve whatever we give you.
And more.
Thank you, John.
Any further discussion? Melissa, please call up.
Thank you. This is my first night.
Well, when you go
I'm out of sorts.
I'm throwing them off.
You were in Mexico, Doug.
I'm throwing them off.
John's throwing a lot of curveballs up here tonight. Okay, any further discussion? No. Okay, Melissa, please call roll.
Member Miller.
Aye.
Member Samanti.
Aye.
Member Joshi.
Aye.
Member Harris.
Aye.
Member Hughes.
Aye.
And Member Purcell.
Aye. So the consent agenda, the personnel report, item 6, the 19 through 22 Administrators Handbook has been approved as presented in the packet of materials. Next are recommendations for action. First is general office supplies recommended by the business office. Is there a motion to award the bid for general office supplies to Runco Office Supply for an estimated cost of $21,997.29?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Melissa, please call roll.
Member Joshi.
Aye.
Member Harris.
Aye.
Member Hughes.
Aye.
Member Miller.
Aye.
Member Samanti.
Aye.
Member Purcell.
Aye. The motion carried to award the bid for general office supplies to Runco Office Supply for an estimated cost of $21,997.29. Next is a bid for art supplies as recommended by the business office. Is there a motion to approve the bid for art supplies to Runco Office Supply for an estimated cost of $14,629.87?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
We should get a group discount for doing art and general office supplies with the same company.
It's a good idea.
Maybe we did.
But it's a bid, we can't do that.
Unless you bid them together, right?
True. Melissa, please call roll.
Member Miller.
Aye.
Member Samanti.
Aye.
Member Joshi.
Aye.
Member Harris.
Aye.
Member Hughes.
Aye.
Member Purcell.
Aye, the motion carried to award the bid for art supplies to Runco Office Supply for an estimated cost of $14,629.87. Next is a bid for paper as recommended by the business office. Is there a motion to reject all bids and utilize the state bid for paper for the 1920 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to make sure, these are the ones that always confuse me. When we want to reject it, we're voting yes to reject or no not to accept.
Yes to reject.
Yes.
Yes to
Motion to
reject.
reject.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're
I'm in
not
favor of
accidentally
rejecting.
saying the wrong thing.
We're voting in favor of rejecting.
Okay.
Any discussion, further discussion? No? Okay, Melissa, please call roll.
Member Miller.
Aye.
Member Samanti.
Aye.
Member Joshi.
Aye.
Member Harris.
Aye.
Member Hughes.
Aye.
Member Purcell.
Aye, the motion carried to reject all bids and utilize the state bid for paper for the 1920 school year. Next is faculty MacBook Air purchase, as recommended by James Eichmiller, Director of Innovative Technology and Learning. Is there a motion to approve the purchase of 40 MacBook Airs for a total price of $45,160?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question, I know the memo had mentioned that next year we will come upon a larger refresh of the faculty devices. What's the number of devices that we're expecting? What, 40 out of how many?
An additional 300 next year, so around 350, 375 total.
Okay, thanks.
Further discussion? Okay. Melissa, please call roll.
Member Miller.
Aye.
Member Samanti.
Aye.
Member Joshi.
Aye.
Member Harris.
Aye.
Member Hughes.
Aye.
Member Purcell.
Aye. The motion carried to approve the purchase of 40 MacBook Airs for a total price of $45,160. Next is a second reading of policies 5103 and 5104 as recommended by the Policy Committee. Is there a motion to adopt revisions to policies 5103, school attendance areas, student assignment, and intra-district transfers, and 5104, non-public school students?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just, if I may, a quick note, the changes to the intra-district transfer policy, this has been reviewed really throughout the year by our administrative team, trying to make some improvements to this policy, as well as some of the procedures that support it. A couple of key changes that are being made is, one, you won't see class size caps listed here anymore for considering those transfers. Instead, we're looking at extraordinary circumstances. We're trying to honor our neighborhood schools and encourage families to enroll at their neighborhood school, but there are still some times where there's extraordinary circumstances that might lead a family to want to apply for a transfer, and we want to continue to support those when we can. We still will look at enrollment numbers. We still will consider space availability along with those extraordinary circumstances. The other thing that's really important to note is that with so much change that we've experienced in our enrollment in class sizes over the years, we really do want to make sure that we can review that on an annual basis. And so, having reviewed this really in depth with our principals and administrators, this policy is requiring any family that is approved for the upcoming school year or later, that they will reapply for that transfer approval annually, whereas currently the policy is for all those who have already been transferred. Once you're transferred, you are allowed to remain in that school through that school's grade. So typically, it's elementary school, you can remain enrolled through 6th grade. We're now requiring families to reapply annually. That will give our administrators, our principals, the opportunity to look at those enrollment numbers and make sure that there's space and that those extraordinary circumstances continue to exist that might lead them to approve that transfer. So, two really key elements, and because we've gotten some questions about it, I just want to make sure that people understand those who have already been approved continue to be grandfathered in under the old policy. This will apply to new approvals. Dr. Russell and the principals will have to be looking at those in August. Hopefully we have all of those already received, because there was an April 1st request date for those. But then they'll be looking at enrollment numbers in August and approving those as we typically have in that first 1 or 2 weeks of August.
Okay.
Just a question about implementing that policy. So imagine, I know about a percentage of our students, 1% at most of our students request that transfer. If a student is able to show extraordinary circumstances to request that transfer, and they're able to re-show that every year, can they expect likely consistent decision-making in transfer? Or it's possible that they might get retransferred or sent back to their home or resident school?
Right, so certainly we didn't take upon the annual application pursuit lightly, because that will create additional work for families as well as for our administrative team. So we do want to be very transparent in that it will be considered annually, rather than saying once you're granted, you can stay through 6th grade. So it is possible that a family, a student, could be told that either the extraordinary circumstance no longer exists, or the class size is simply too big in the transfer to school that we can't approve it for the following year. But again, certainly, as we've all been talking about, we make decisions that are kid-focused, and so we certainly will take into account those extraordinary circumstances, and we'll continue to what's in the best interest of our students, of all of our students that we're working with. So.
Okay, thanks.
Good question, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried to adopt revisions to policy 5103 and 5104. Next is a second reading for deletion, policy 5102, as recommended by the Policy Committee. Is there a motion to approve for second reading the deletion of policy 5102, students, school attendance areas?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's just duplicative. That's the only reason why we're deleting it.
Thank you. Melissa, will you please call roll?
Are we, I think it's a voice vote. I had the wrong.
Oh, okay.
Do either way.
It is. I messed up your script.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, the motion carried to approve for second reading the deletion of policy 5102. Before the announcements, we do have to save the best for last and thank Melissa for all her hard work. Despite my fumbling around tonight, her hard work is all behind the scenes and is amazing in preparing the board, answering the questions, always getting materials to us, bringing materials to me that I forgot to sign.
Tracking us
At night,
down when we don't
weekends or
answer.
whatever, so your dedication is amazing. Thank you. Next is the announcements. Tuesday, April 16th at 6:30, there's a building tour and PTA meeting at Whittier. Wednesday, April 17th at 3:45 p.m., the Legislative Committee will meet at ASC. Tuesday, April 23rd at 8 a.m., new board member orientation at the ASC. Thursday, April 25th at 5 p.m., there's board recognition at Longfellow. Monday, April 29th at 6:15.
I think that's reorganization.
Reorganization, sorry, at Longfellow, that's the 25th at 5 p.m., which you discussed earlier. Monday, April 29th at 6:15, staff meet and greet at Pierce Downer. And then following that at 7 p.m. will be the budget workshop at Pierce Downer. The board will now meet in closed session. Is there a motion to move into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, the placement of individual students in special education programs, and other matters relating to individual students, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the district has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the district finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the closed meeting minutes, and discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, whether for the purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or the semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by Section 206. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Melissa, please call roll.
Member Hughes.
Aye.
Member Miller.
Aye.
Member Samantha.
Aye.
Member Joshi.
Aye.
Member Harris.
Aye.
Member Purcell.
Aye. The motion carried. The board will now move into closed session after a short recess at 8:45 p.m.